Everyone, I just wanted to create a quick video on how to set up the buyer experience repository with the Rancher Desktop. My computer, unfortunately, kind of had to be reformatted, so I thought it'd be a good opportunity to kind of walk through the steps. So first off, I'm going to say that I did set up source control, and so I don't know if you use CLI or whatever you prefer. I use SourceTree, and so I already have our repo pulled in here, and I've signed in with GitLab and has proper authentication and all my keys and all that are set up. So I don't know whatever tool you prefer. This is the one I prefer. But just for context, the repo is already set up, and I've put it in a folder. So I made it a GitLab folder here that's going to house like all the repositories. So it'll have the navigation, it'll have I don't know the buyer experience, it'll have all the repos. So here's the one. Oh, it should be called buyer experience, not digital. But anyway, I'll change that later. And then in here you can see all the code for the buyer experience project. Um, I did install VS Code. So for this kind of tutorial, not tutorial, walkthrough, I am going to be using VS Code and also Rancher Desktop, which I haven't downloaded yet. So I will do that now. I'm using the Intel version. Oh, it's 600 megs. This might be a bit. Um, but if all goes fairly quickly, I may do a few other projects. We'll see. I don't know, pause. Everything's all messed up. All my settings are not saved, but I'll get used to it. Almost done. Perfect. Okay. So I'm gonna install this. Perfect. So now I don't need this anymore. We should have Rancher Desktop. Let's open it up and just make sure it all works. I don't know why it's not loading. Perfect. Rancher Desktop. So I'm gonna close this. Here, you know what? I'll try and minimize everything just to make it kind of priority. Oh, there's my Slack. Yeah, so I'm gonna use the latest version, stable version of Kubernetes. And then we're gonna use Docker actually. So we can use the Docker CLI. Automatic path configuration. And then you're gonna have to run this probably with admin access. So it might ask for your password. Here it is. That's just your local machine's password. So it's gonna start up. The interface is fairly simple. We shouldn't have any images now because we haven't created any, but we're gonna create all the images and all that through VS Code. There's an add-on, which I'll walk through right now, an extension. So make sure to install this. It's called dev containers. I have a couple others. I'm going to continue adding as like I said, I lost all my settings when I reformatted my computer and I forgot to save them. So make sure you have dev containers. And you can tell if you hit Command Shift P, you can open up, like kind of commands for all your add-ons and VS Code. And then in here, you should say like, I think it's like open folder in container. And when you click this, oh, we have the latest version of Docker. I feel like there's going to be a lot of installation. And look, it's still starting Q3. But the idea of this is to have a separate image for each project. And the reason for this is to kind of containerize each individual project so that there's no weird kind of configurations cross project. So if you need, I don't know, node version 16 on one, node version 17 on another, that they're not going to conflict. And yeah, you could use things like NVM and all sorts of different version managers, but I find it easier to keep projects isolated. Let's install Docker. Completely forgot about Docker. This computer seems to be pretty quick. I'll jump back. So it looks like Rancher's done. Looks like there's a few default images. I'm not sure what these are, but we won't have to touch them. Just leave them here. One thing to note, oh, I can't do it here. Or maybe the zoom thing's in the way. Yeah, I believe you can. This is for later, but you can assign like more memory and more kind of processing power to the images. So for projects like dub that are a little more intense, you can kind of up these numbers to run smoother. But also take note that if you're running multiple of these at once, you don't want to fry your computer. But luckily, the buyer experience and slippers and the nav aren't too big. So let's see if we got Docker. Looks like we do. Gonna minimize Rancher just for now. Perfect. I'll just use direct meta settings. We're not doing anything too fancy here. Don't really want weekly tips. I don't want to do this. So I guess there's one thing to note. Do not use Docker Desktop. Docker Desktop changed their licensing. Ooh, I'm going to say like 4 or 5 months ago, maybe the start of 2023 or end of 2022. I think it was end of 2022. And the way it works now is that because there's so many people at our company, we kind of exceed the free limit. So we'd have to pay. And I don't know if we've looked into it or if that's something we're interested in with procurement, but for now we've decided to kind of jump off the Docker desktop implementation and use Rancher desktop. There's a bunch of other tools you can use online. You can search for them. I prefer Rancher, and so does I think the majority of those that were using Docker desktop switched over to Rancher. I am gonna uninstall this eventually, Docker desktop. I don't know why I installed both. I just wanted Docker. Okay. Anyways, let's go back to, geez, all the notifications probably not. Let's jump back to the project here. And we're gonna hit Command Shift P again. We're gonna say open folder and container. We're gonna open, yeah, digital experience. And we're gonna choose what image or configuration we want. So what do we want? We don't have a DB. I mean, we can just do a simple node and JS container. It's probably the simplest. And I believe if you check out, I don't know if we have an npmrc, we have an nvmrc, we're using 16. So I'm just going to load it up with 16. Is there any other tools we want? Not really. We just install them manually after if we need them. So we hit OK. And you'll see here it just created this dev container. It might take a second to build it and then load this the project in the container. And then once we're in the container, then we can start doing like yarn install, and then we can actually build the project. And we'll see it in the Rancher desktop application as well, once it's complete. It might be there now. We can take a look. Microsoft Dev Containers, I'm pretty sure it's this one. Yeah, I think it's this one. But it's still installing, so we'll wait. Okay, I think it's done. The way you can tell is that the thing on the bottom right's done, but you can also see that the project here, digital experience, which again I should have renamed buyer experience, is in the dev container and it's a Node.js container. So the first thing I like to do, let's open up the console. Oh boy, my hotkeys aren't working, so there we go. Let's just see what version of Node we have. 1620, and I think it was 1611. So we're gonna do, I think we have NVM in here. Yeah, we do. To NVM use 16.11.0. Oops, we're gonna install first. type it from here. And now it's using 16.11.0. Perfect. So they match. And the first thing we should probably do is yarn install. We do use yarn for fire experience. This might take a while. Which reminds me, I might kind of want to give it more resources, but I think it's going to restart the container. I don't think we need 8. Yeah, closure restart. I don't want to do that right now. I'll do that after. I might pause the recording for now and then come back when the installation's finished. If I can figure out how to open up the stop recording. All right, we're back and we're finished npm, or sorry, yarn install. So all of our node modules have been installed. You can see that the folder's here and it should be full with all the modules that are in our package.json and all of their dependencies. So really the only thing left to do is to run the project. And you can find here, we have a bunch of commands. These are probably going to change over the next couple months or year, especially as we migrate to Next 3. But for now, just to run the dev environment, it's just yarn dev. So let's run yarn dev and let's see if we can get a local instance running. This may take a few seconds. But once it's up and running, it'll have hot reloading and everything, so you won't have to rebuild each time. It's going to open up port 3000 localhost. I'm going to open browser. That's a few warnings. We'll have to fix those. But this time, at the time recording, we're using Next 2 with Vue 2. And so this might look a little different, but I'm sure the process will remain the same when we migrate to Next and Vue 3. I guess the fun part is once you have all your containers up and running, it's super easy. Like just to load up one of the projects in the container, you just have to open up VS Code. And then as you open it, like a notification will pop up on the bottom right, and it'll say, do you want to reopen a container? Hit reopen, it'll happen instantaneously. And then you're in your container. And you can see them all listed here under images. So you'll see, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5, however many you build. But you can also build multiple of the same. So if you want to run like maybe you're migrating from Next 2 to Vue 2, Next 2 to Next 3. You can spin up, maybe have one image that's Next 2, spin up a new image that's Next 3 on a different folder. And so that you don't have to have, polluting projects. Our build is fairly slow right now. I think we have to look into what's going on. There might be a memory leak. We're kind of looking into it right now. I also changed this to buyer experience. It was driving me up the wall that I had a digital experience before, and that's like the parent project. And then inside we have buyer experience, slippers. I can actually go and show you. So this is the digital experience project, and this project houses a bunch of sub-projects or subgroups. So it has A/B testing, that's mostly just for issue management, announcements, I think that's more issues as well. Buyer experience is the actual marketing website. The blog, I think it's TBD. Maybe at the time of, of watching this, it'll be completed and the blog will be here. I'm not too sure what the cookie spike is. Navigation, that's the site navigation. The reason we have a project for it is because it's used in multiple places. So it's used in the buyer experience project, but it's also used in the old digital experience www project. So that one should be deprecated, hopefully in the next year or so. And then when that happens, we can kind of remove this navigation package and then put it inside buyer experience. We also have Slipper's design system. So that's the design system that feeds into buyer experience, but it's also a public kind of a public design system, and that you can go find it on npm and anyone can use it. And we kind of publish versions. every time I make changes. And so you'll see that all these packages are included. Let's see, like slippers. There's the latest slippers, and then navigation's in here as well. So we're importing these packages into Buyer Experience. Come on, hopefully this is done soon. 88%. Should be almost done. And then this should reload. And we'll see the marketing website. Boom, there it is. And once I accept the cookies, you should see the navigation and everything working. So hopefully this was helpful. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to bug me. But yeah, it's pretty simple. Hope you enjoyed it. I don't know why I can't stop recording.